Hi guys, welcome to hashtag no filters number 29 with me, Cheryl Norris Hopkins, Monday the 8th of February 2021. And let's get touching. Thanks for joining me. If it's your first time, thanks so much for coming along. If you're somebody that's been with us before, really appreciate you coming back. Whether we're on YouTube, Facebook, joyfulbodies.co.uk, which is the link I would always suggest you bookmark and follow, because that will always point to wherever the videos are. Social media can disappear anytime, right guys? So I always kind of keep a copy of whatever I've video recorded there, so you'll always have those tips for access as we continue through this amazingly cray adventure on planet Earth and beyond. So I entitled today's chat show invitation, Get Touching. Big disclaimer, as always, don't take what I say as the truth. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the love. Guys, if you are watching, even now in the future or in the past, please feel free to put a comment. Then I can actually see who it is and I can always say hi directly. Hearts and likes are beautiful. Just don't know who is actually giving them. So, as always, as I say, don't believe a word I say. See what resonates for you. Take that, run with it to give you more freedom, more ease, more joy. Because if we don't have joy and the joy of living, what's the effing point? Okay? And if it doesn't work for you, chuck it out. So I wanted to explore the very beautiful ability we have to touch, whether we have hands or not. Touching, connecting is the essence. It's one of the core aspects of who we are as a species. And we've been asked to give that up so much. Not just in this last year, but in our way of being. Don't touch people. Don't get emotional. But as we all know, as you may well know, if you've had a year without touching or less contact, despite having screens to look at people, I bet you're bloody missing it, aren't you? So let's start seeing how we can create more touch in our lives. And you choose what works for you guys, right? It is your life. We're the 99%. Let's rock it. So we're going to look at 3 areas today. Touching others, controversial. Touching yourself, I'm not going to say any more. And touching stuff, so-called inanimate objects. So let's explore the idea of touching others. How often do you touch another person? And I'm going to say a person as opposed to an animal. How often do you touch another person with either a kind of what I call quite a harsh touch, because you don't want to be misconstrued as it being meaning something? Or do you avoid touching others because you have a judgment about what it means to touch them, what they might think it means? Maybe you're nervous about touching somebody else. Maybe you want to touch them, but aren't sure how they would respond. Maybe you touch because you want to get something from somebody. What if touch in its essence is just a way of connecting and doesn't have to mean anything at all? How often do we touch? Like I use children as examples, guys, because I see them in their purity and that they haven't had massive conditioning when they're little. But if you've ever been touched by a little person who just comes up and throws her arms around you, just for the sheer joy of doing it, I'm talking about that level of touch. I'm talking about being really present when you touch somebody, not trying to get something from them or even give something to them, but just doing it for the simple pleasure of making contact without having to mean something, without having to lead somewhere. How many are living with people in your house? Kids, partner, dad, mum, sibling? Will you hardly touch? Guys, if you're struggling during lockdown, for example, if that's when you're listening to this, you might want to start upping your level of touch. Now, if you're not living with anybody and you're not seeing people, we'll get to that bit, part 2, self-touch. But I notice and watch people, particularly partners, who hardly do any touch. Now, I'm not there all the time observing them, I get that. But if I happen to have been in their homes or I see them in public, there's hardly any level of touch between them. Hello? He's like somebody that you could so enjoy touching. And I'm not talking about sexualness here, guys. People think touch, is always about sex or so often about sex or formal touch is in, a handshake or an elbow bump or a fist pump or all that stuff. I'm inviting you to a level of touch which is just the simple pleasure of connecting. So let me give you an example, okay? So my partner's out in the kitchen and I go up to him and I'll just put my hand gently on his back, on his arms, on his bar, and it has nothing to do with sexual energy whatsoever. Although, in a weird way, energy starts flowing through our bodies is a form of sexualness in that it's an enlivening energy. But I'm not talking about copulation as in putting body parts together, okay? I put my hands on his back or on his arms or somewhere, and I just get really present. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do next. I'm not thinking about how he's going to respond. I'm not thinking about trying to turn him on. I'm just putting my hand on his body and just feeling the sensation of what I'm touching, which might be his clothing or his skin. And in that moment, everything stands still. And there's this huge cycle of energy that starts to flow. Now, if you're not somebody that's used to touch, your sensations might be quite different to mine. It might be something you might deem uncomfortable. It might well stimulate something like sexual organs. If you can just stay present to the touch, and I say you can start somewhere really neutral, like an arm. What you might find is that a lot of the stress you might be feeling in the body, a lot of the even anxiety that people are feeling, the sort of sadness, the so-called depression, a lot of people are feeling, or the boredom that people are feeling, all those sensations, all that type of energy starts to dissipate. Just by literally starting to touch somebody and being present with that touch, and leaving it there for a few moments. Not this quick touch and release kind of thing that we've all been taught to do. That's actually a lack of connection. I'm talking about the touch where you just leave it there and you just hold. You don't squeeze somebody, but you just literally let it rest. I mean, guys, whilst you're watching this, hey, why the hell not? Touch yourself, right? Touch your arm. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the thumbs up. Really appreciate it. Just touch yourself. And take a breath. And notice how that feels. And if it's uncomfortable, feel free to close your eyes. Stay with it. Just breathe through your nose and out through your mouth. You might notice you actually want to even run from yourself, from touching yourself. You might notice your body's calming down. You might notice your body's turning on. There's in just energy, aliveness. Now, this would be a great thing to do if you think you're bored and you want to go head to the fridge and grab something or from the cupboard and you want to scoff something down, i.e. food. This would be a great trick to use, because often what we're looking for is a sense of connection, a sense of caring, a sense of kindness. And we use food, alcohol, cigarettes to give it to us. When touch is so much more fulfilling. And it's free. Now, I'm not suggesting you just go up to random people on the street and touch them. Although, I say that, one of the past things I've done is you get those mascots, people inside, furry creatures. I've done that. It's really fun, actually. And you'd be amazed how many people, not just kids, but adults come up to a furry creature. I was dressed as I've been dressed as like a dinosaur thing. It's really cool. I really love it. Sammy the dinosaur. How many adults I've had come up to me and hug me or want their picture taken with me, but often they want a hug. Now they know there's a person inside the mascot. They know it's not really a fluffy dinosaur, but what they see, or what I perceive they see, is a safe way of receiving touch. This is how much we're crying out for touch, guys. Now, if the person or the people you live with aren't used to touch, you might want to start slowly. I get it. Like if you've never run and you've spent all your life on the couch, then suddenly get up trying to do 5K, 10K, whatever, is not going to be something I recommend. So you might want to start something simple. It might be the touch on the forearm, on the shoulder, on the back, the upper back, as you pass them in the kitchen or wherever it is. And the reason we invite you to this is because not only does it calm your own body down, it also does the same for theirs. And all excites their body, as in makes it feel more alive, in which case, in enlivening the body, yes, there's lots of lovely biochemicals that rush through the body. Those chemicals not only de-stress the body, but enable the body to regenerate, to cleanse, to fire up more of the old neurons in the brain, to have more clarity in your thinking, and just to feel damn good. So that's my first invitation to you. Start touching the people in your life. And if you dare to touch people outside of your life, as in outside of your home, hey, I do. Only when I know they can receive it. But there's a thing about also only giving people touch that you know can receive it. So if you get the sign somebody's like, don't come near me, even if there's someone you know really well, it's not a kindness to touch them. Right? I get that. So what about touching yourself, guys? What about touching yourself? And again, I'm not talking sexual, because not to say you can't do that. I'm not saying don't ever touch yourself sexually. It's not about that. But actually, I'm inviting you to explore the concept of touch through kindness, through caring, through the very joy of the simplicity of touch with no agenda. Okay? And yes, we all touch ourselves, putting our clothes on, having a shower, I don't know, doing our hair, whatever. But often, again, it's functional. There's no softness there. And you'll know what it's like. Hopefully, you know what it's like to be touched by somebody where it's quite hard and firm. And it doesn't actually entice you to go towards that person. So if you're touching yourself, why would that entice your own body to open up to you? And again, if you're living alone, of course, right now, which I know a lot of people are in, sort of isolation, or they might be working from home and not obviously seeing many people, or even if they are still going to work, but they live alone. And with the whole don't touch anybody, don't get close to people, social distancing thing the thing that's going on, each their own, you get to choose. You might have gone months without touch. So guys, let's start learning to touch ourselves, right? The joy of touch. I mean, literally, it can be as simple as just gently feeling your hair. I mean, really tender. I have done a lot of hands-on body work, and unsurprisingly, when I've done swaps with people have kind of some of the body work has involved touching the head, holding various points in the head. And of course, people when they touch my hair are like, "Oh my God!" Some don't know what to do with it, and others fall in love with it, and they want to start playing with it. And it's really interesting. I can really tell by the intensity of somebody's touch how they care for themselves. Because some people get quite hard in terms of their firmness to touch on my body or on my head, and others are very gentle, and some obviously, along that spectrum. But I can tell by their desire to touch my hair and how much they allow themselves to enjoy the sensation of touching it. It's very telling in terms of how much they're willing to receive kindness in their own world. And I'm skitting back between touching others and touching self here, guys. But that's the joy of hashtag no filters. It's about going with the flow. So although there's 3 areas, I'm just going to go with where the energy calls me. So when somebody touches you, or when you touch yourself, notice the level of gentleness you can have. That level of gentleness is very telling in terms of how much you're willing to receive kindness in your own world. And we all want more kindness. I don't, unless you're really narcissistic and psychotic, which a lot of our society has been set up to operate on that in terms of its systems. So it does encourage that behavior. And yet, at a very core, I would say we all desire, at a purest setting, not the conditioned socialized setting, but our purest setting, we all desire that kindness of touch, which is why we touch babies gently, unless we want to harm them. And animals gently, unless we want to harm them. And we touch somebody firmly, normally as a sign of a threat, right? Unless we're working the muscles to start to break up something. But it's almost a threatening behavior when we touch somebody very firmly and assertive, a power over often. Okay? Again, guys, don't take anything I say as the truth. See what resonates for you, okay? But let's start to learn to touch ourselves gently, you know? And again, it might feel really weird and really uncomfortable. So start somewhere we feel it stretches you, but it isn't so overwhelming. So for some of us, we've never had a gentle hand on our face. Or maybe we've not had it since we were a kid, right? A little person. So that might be just too much for you right now. So maybe you start on your hand. And you just very gently hold your hands and cup them. And you may feel you want to move. Because it almost, if you leave your hand there for too long or stay in one space for too long, one spot, you might find that energy builds up and it becomes almost overwhelming. That's how powerful touch is. And again, if it's new to you, this level of kindness, you don't need to rush into it. You don't need to stay there for half an hour. You can just do a few seconds. And it's so easy to, although we're much quieter in our day-to-day living, to still rush through any functional touch, right? In the shower, putting on clothes, picking up things. What if you take time to even slow it down there? When you're in the shower, can you be kind to how you wash your skin with the shower gel, the soap, whatever it is? Can you just slow down how you do your hair? Can you not pull a knot? Let's get my little fluff curls in line. Can you not yank your hair when you're pulling out a knot? Like I notice sometimes my hair, obviously, it can tangle with the curls, so I kind of reset it most days with like a leave-in conditioner or a conditioner. And I notice if I try and get a bit too firm with it to like get a knot out, I'm like, no, I wouldn't do that to a kid, so why am I going to do it to myself? So again, I'm just inviting you in just your practical day-to-day living to find ways you can start to engage with touch, okay? On your own body. When you put something on, rather than like rushing to get it on, no, dress yourself the way you dress a little kid. You would be gentle generally. And I've seen parents who can be a bit firm when they're like getting a bit frustrated. But there you go, that's telling, isn't it? When people get frustrated and they pull on their kid's jacket really firmly, there's a sign of aggression there. Not making you wrong, just highlighting what's going on. And often the kid gets a bit flustered or gets upset. Okay, so again, when you put something on, can you just, and you're not going to do it every time, I get that. This is a starting point. Because if you think about it, the world is a reflection. I dare say the world is a reflection. What's going on in our world is a reflection of all the things, all the systems we've had in place, all the unkindness, all the cray. And it's all coming up to the surface. I talked about this a lot in last week's show, number 28, number 27, and anything in the 2021 and beyond playlist on the YouTube channel, which, as I say, you can get to via joyfulbodies.co.uk. As a 2021 and beyond playlist. Have a listen to some of those guys if you haven't already. I talk a lot about what I perceive is going on in the world. But a lot of the unkindness we have in our world, a lot of the, whether it's crime, violence, war, um, starvation, all the things, none of us desire. To me, those things are a reflection, abuse, they're a reflection of our internal state, a lack of kindness and caring for ourselves. So how on earth can we put it out into the world if we haven't got it in our own space? And touch is a very practical way we can start to develop it in our own world. So the kinder you are to yourself in your own body with your touch, in your day-to-day experiences of washing, dressing, moving around, then naturally the kinder you will be in the outer world, the more easy it, the more gentleness you have in your own space, the less you want to be violent in the world, whether that's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, or any other way. It's very hard. This is why, again, little kids are very gentle when they touch things generally. Yes, kids can lose their shit and smash up stuff, of course, but generally, they're very tender with things. So why not start to rediscover that for yourselves, guys? Because the world is not encouraging us, or it would appear that the world is saying, see, everybody is a threat. Everything's a threat. You know, you're not safe. Creates anxiety in the body, desire to protect, to guard, to push away, to harden. I'm inviting you to the 180 degrees, the complete opposite, to find the kindness and the gentleness. Because if you start being that, it starts to ripple through the world. And your view of the world changes. Now, if you need to get kick ass, like somebody's coming towards you and wants to try and do harm to you, you get kick ass. I'm not talking about being a doormat. In fact, I was just in the kitchen with my partner and earlier, and he was taking the piss out of me, and he came back in and he, you know, made a joke of what he was taking the piss out of me for. And inside, I'm 5'2", he's 6'2", right? Inside, my little inner kick-ass fighter came out, which I've used a lot in my past energy to protect others, particularly kids who used to get bullied at school, and to speak up and stop people getting mugged and all sorts of stuff, which I think I've mentioned before. But that little kick-ass bit of me came up, ready to kind of like say, "Come on, then, let's step outside and and fight." It was only a split second, but it's in there. So I'm not saying that in being kind and gentle that you completely let go of any other skills or necessary actions. If you need to get a little firm, and you get firm, right? On a day-to-day, moment-by-moment way of being, I'm inviting you to find the kindness in your own circle, in your own space, okay? So what if, I've talked about touching others briefly, I've talked about touching yourself, and if you are going sexual, hey, what about being really present with that touch? Not the kind of thing we see in terms of sex on our TVs, in movies, in porn, or whatever that is. Most of that isn't kind. Most of that's really damn abusive and all that force and hardness. Okay? Male and female bodies do have different levels of stimulation, and yet both bodies can receive kindness and can adore soft touch. As I said, it was very, very much a reflection on where somebody is on the inside. It's very telling in terms of how they touch you and how they can receive touch. But if you can do it without an agenda, they can receive a whole heap more. I've done that. I've touched somebody, again, in a non-sexual way. And when I don't have an agenda of trying to touch them sexually or trying to turn them on or trying to get anything from them, their body and they have been far more willing to the softness and kindness of that touch than they have at other times where I've tried to touch them gently or tried to stimulate them, okay? So the purity of the touch has a big influence on their body and will have it on your body too. So let's jump to the third area, which is, having talked about touching others, touching yourself, touching stuff, a pen, a phone, a door handle, a shopping bag. Again, how often just grab something and you use it, an inanimate object as if it has no consciousness, has no sensation, has no sensitivity. What if it does? Is there something in your life is there something in your home, in your life you're particularly fond of? It could be a picture. It could be the car you have. It could be a new piece of furniture. Is there something you're more gentle with because you see it as having value? Well, what if you apply that to everything that you come across that you touch? And again, guys, it's a step by step, right? This is a slow learning, a practice. This is not going for somebody that just touches things, just uses them functionally, to being very tender and kind to everything you come across. No, 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 no. I'm inviting you to be more present with what you touch, because actually, again, like I just picked up this pen, I was really present as I picked it up. And my body is turned on, as in there's more energy. I'm not talking genitalia here, as it happens. I mean, it might be for you, but there's more energy in like, my brain switched up. I felt it switch up. I felt more alert. So you can actually become more productive, more enlivened by being present when you touch something. So not everybody, where so many people, I'm hearing people go, oh, there's nothing to do. I'm bored. I can't go anywhere. There's lockdown. They're looking for external stimulation all the time, which, as we know, often most people aren't even present when they're doing stuff in the world. So it's never gratifying. I hear more people complain about what was wrong about an experience they had than I hear them talk about the joy of the experience. So in many respects, we're rose tint glassing, look at things through rose tinted glasses. Oh, I wish we could go here. I wish I could do that. But I've seen enough of the world and witnessed enough of the world in my last 49 years, almost 50. I'll be 50 very soon, this month. Whoop, whoop. I'm already celebrating, as you can tell. I'm going to celebrate for the whole decade, in fact. Side note, but hey, hashtag no filters, go with the flow. I've seen so many people and heard so many people complain about things they experience in life. So most people are projecting what they wish they'd had, what they think they're missing. So why not start to enjoy the things around you? So when you do start going out into the world more, you're going to get a whole heap more from it, a whole more bang for your buck. And also, you might find you don't feel quite as frustrated and constrained and not going out into the world so much right now. You can start to really engage with things around you. Like, I'm still holding on to this pen. I'm still really aware of it in my hand. And it's like literally like a battery. It's like charging me. Now, some would say it's because it's an energetic exchange between the pen and myself. Maybe there is, depending on your point of view. Try it, guys. Find something that's near you right now. Pick it up, feel it. I'm not saying about trying to feel it, like, oh, how firm does it feel? I'm talking about as you touch it, just be aware of it in your hand. It's almost like I can feel the pen in my hand, and then I can also feel my hand on the pen. It's quite surreal. It might space you out a bit, because most people aren't used to that. Right? So feel the pen or feel whatever's in your hand. Just notice it. Don't try and squeeze it. Just notice it. And then flip your attention to, let me think, which way have I gone? Feel the pen in your hand and then feel your hand on the pen. That sounds like the same thing, doesn't it? I tell you what, I've got a better example. Hands on your face. There you are, because that's still part of your body. Put your hand on your face. Now feel your face, as in put your attention on your face, the cheek, let's say, and then put your attention on your hand. And you'll notice, you'll feel the energies. Let's try again. Put your attention on your cheek or wherever you're touching. You might find yourself flipping here, guys, if you're not used to training your focus. Most of us have been conditioned to flicker attention from thing to thing, so it might be quite challenging, but hey, let's play. Feel your face. Just put your attention on your cheek or your face, wherever it is, wherever you're touching. And then flick your attention to your hand. It's quite different, right? If you start to get that present with things, like I just picked this up again, and I noticed how different it felt in my left hand to my right hand. This end by the little metal bit here felt really different to this hand. When you start to get used to the sensation of touch, you start to enliven and awaken that sensation of touch. It's almost as if we go from monochrome, just black or just white, or from black and white to technicolor. Through a spectrum, because again, depending on how used to it we are. And I started off as somebody that was very firm, didn't really do touch as a kid. And if I did, it was very firm because it was like it was almost a way of keeping me safe. I wanted to make contact, but I didn't want to be that vulnerable, that open. So I did the whole, the kind of hard, not shoulder bunch or, shoulder tap, but, it would be if it was a hand touch, it would be quite a firm hand touch on somebody's body, on their back or whatever. And it was only because of beautiful men in my life, lovers at the time, who were very kind, that I was able to open up and start to relax. And then I was able to start to take that gentleness of being able to receive kindness and touch and be vulnerable with them. I was able to start to explore that in non-sexual with others. So it has been a journey. It is a journey. But if you can start to become aware of the things in your life around your home that you interact with, when you pick up the glass, when you do the washing up, when you put something in the fridge, just start to get more present with what you touch. You will start to enliven, energize your body. It will start to change your daily life. It sounds ridiculous, I'm sure. Try it out, guys. What have you got to lose? What might you gain? And then when you start to turn on that whole level of aliveness in your body, just imagine what it's going to be like when you go out into the world and start doing things and interacting with things. Oh my God, or touching other people. How much more fun will that be? Because you'll be able to receive so much more. It's like being able to receive nutrients from food, if you believe in that. Most people are so congested in their bodies, they receive tiny amounts from what they eat. But the cleaner their bodies are internally, the more they receive. The more efficient it is, the more it regenerates their body, the more it enables them to have access to more capacity in their lungs, in cardiovascular motion, the less sleep they need. Just to give you an analogy, okay, guys? So touch, the joy of touch. My invitation is to start getting out there and start touching things. Others, yourself, stuff in your life. And if you have pets, animals, fluffy things, you already know, generally, I think, probably, how to touch things quite gently. So spend some time just being pleasant with that. What have you decided is true about touching an animal gently that is different to touching another human or your own body? What are you allowing yourself to be and do when you touch an animal that you don't allow when you touch yourself or another? How about taking that softness you are stroking a pussycat, a dog, or gerbil, whatever it is you have? How about applying that same kind of touch to yourself? Hey, how about seeing your little body as a little furry animal? If that helps as a stepping stone, and just begin that soft, gentle touch. Give yourself a little stroke in the morning when you wake up, during the day, throughout the day. Experiment. You might find your life starts to blossom when nothing outside of you has really changed. Your work hasn't changed, your income hasn't changed, where you're going hasn't changed. Like I said earlier, every time you want to go to the fridge and eat something, even though you know you're not hungry but you're bored, hey, how about a little stroke? And it's fine if you still go to the fridge and eat something, but you might find that that thing you were looking to have from the fridge or that bit of food doesn't have such a strong pull on you. That desire to eat, to snack, isn't so strong. And even if you do it, you might find it's not as gratifying as it was. Cool. Free dieting. And if you do munch, why not have a little stroke whilst you're munching? Why not? Guys, I hope there's something useful there for you. The power of touch. Can't speak to it highly enough, but it's a practical thing that you have to do to know for yourselves. I've seen my own journey. It's been amazing with touch over the years, from being somebody that's non-touch to being somebody who just adores touch, giving it and receiving it. And it gets better and better and better and better and better. Has so many beneficial impactful things on the health of the body. And right now, psychologically, emotionally, we can all do with that. And it will reflect in the world, because the kindness you have in your daily life with yourself and with others is what makes up the world. So, guys, it was joy sharing the explosion of touch for you today. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you next week. Ciao for now.